When running multiple LPARs and or multiple sysplexes, tracking the status of your storage or critical events across all these systems can be very time consuming. In this video we'll show you how, using the UDM monitor, you can, via a single dashboard, review the status of critical events and conditions across all systems. You enter the dashboard, the monitor, simply by going into the monitoring interface and selecting all the systems that you would like to report on. When you first come into the monitoring interface, a series of tiles are displayed. The colour of the tile represents the highest severity of a condition associated to that tile. For example, within this case we have pink for critical messages about catalogues, and here we have critical messages about volumes, etc. If you drill down within one of these tiles, you can then see the events that have caused that message or the critical status to be informed, and then you can view further information. For example, in this case, we can see that we had an issue here, and we can actually then see, if we move over here, what the condition was. So here we can see that basically the process got a high return code. We can then list the log of the item within UDM that created that entry, and we can see where the error was. In this case, we can see that we've got some console messages that we've associated to this tile, and here we can then see the messages that caused, shall we say, that to occur. And if you double click, you can actually see exactly when that message occurred. So the question is, how do we associate things to tiles? And how do we indicate whether it's critical or warning, etc.? We do that by using the automation interface. And simply put, when you define a schedule, you have the opportunity to say, and if things go wrong, or if we find something, or if this condition occurs, then associate it with this status to this tile. So, for example, we've created here for this test, we've created a couple of objects. So one of them is a message trap, and what we've said here is if we get the message ARC027I, we would like to simply monitor the condition and make it critical. And process start basically says when that message is issued, we are going to flag the box as critical, and the box is going to be called monitor test. The box meaning a tile will appear here called monitor test.
The second condition that we have here is a report where we want to see if we have any orphaned catalogue pointers.
So we've said report with catalogue report type.
Filtering by Volseer status, not online.
So basically what this is going to do is if this finds any entries, it's indicating that we have some orphan catalogue pointers. And then we're simply saying, again, associate this schedule to monitor test. And if we get any entries, that's a condition. So then we're going to make the tile warning. If the whole process ends with an error, for example, a space condition or something, we'll make it critical. So what we can do is we can make these things now live. So at the moment, we do not have a box here called monitor test. But if we then promote these to the necessary systems, if we then refresh our monitor box, we will actually notice that that box appears. So if we go into the monitor and we do a refresh, we can see here we have monitor test. Now, because we haven't run anything, it's not got a color to it. But if we remember, we had here a message trap which said ARC27. So if we go into the command interface and we issue basically a process that will cause that message to occur, we should see the tile's status change. So hsend swap log will do that, basically will create that message for us. And again, we can do this from our command interface, so we don't need to go into the green screen. So that's now being issued. If we now go into the monitor, we can see here, now we haven't got this on auto refresh, so I'm doing this manually, but now we can see he's changed because we said if that message happens, make it critical. And now we can see that's what caused this to become critical, and there's the message. So now let's look at our second condition, which was basically we said in this monitor box, we have another item which says if we find a condition, so before we do this, we're going to clear this to say that we've acknowledged this, so it's no longer critical. Okay. Now this is the one where we said if we basically find catalogs with this condition, we need to basically flag the tile. So if we force start this would happen automatically at the time we chose on our schedule. So we've now basically force started that. So let's come out of all the windows. Let's now go back in as though we're starting first thing in the morning to see the status of our items. And we can now see here, warning. We're not critical because we cleared the status from console from the message. We're warning because we found some catalogs where the catalog pointer is pointing to a volume that does not basically exist. And that's basically how the process occurs. So there we can see it. If we now basically double click that, we will see all the entries within basically that match that object. So we have all these catalogs where the vol seer here is no longer online. And if we remember, we can simply create a command, for example, export disconnect, or we can create some JCL to export disconnect. So in summary, basically you have the ability using this monitor dashboard to create your own tiles indicative of the areas that you want to monitor. These tiles are being fed from multiple systems and the severity changes according to what's actually happening. So you have a true dashboard which is being fed information from multiple systems.